Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are back at your favorite spot in San Diego. I am with Sandy Bartlett. This woman is really on the cutting edge of self-discovery. She said it is the key to unlocking all of life has to offer. What is it to live a quality, balanced life? To be peaceful, to be in the moment, have some synchronicity, but also to have tools like her book that you can refer to, practical applications that you can incorporate in your life. Sandy's going to talk to us about that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Sandy?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. So excited for this session.
I'm excited too. I want to, pick up what you're putting down, see how you move, okay?
Okay.
So tell my brains how you show up in the world.
Well, lots of different ways, but mainly I am a self-discovery coach for women. And what I do is assist them in silencing that inner critic, to use their voice with confidence and to be their authentic selves without apology. I have a passion to help women live a joy-filled life and to stop feeling guilty for taking care of themselves. Too many women are trying to live up to everyone else's expectations but their own. So that is my mission, my drive, and my passion.
That's a lot of heavy lifting, because innately women are born to be the nurturers. We have a strong, empathic, intuitive, insightful self. So just by design alone, we encapsulate other people's feelings, problems. We overthink. That's how we move. We take care of our parents. We're in those sandwich years. We take care of our kids, neglecting ourselves. There's a couple things I want to touch on though. The authentic self. A lot of people don't even know who they are. So to show up authentically and to be real about it, what does that look like? How do we shape that? Because it's ever evolving. We're not the person that we were 10 years ago. We're not the person we were 15 minutes ago. How do you help that person discover that?
It's really looking inward. And I have to say, I mean, I am one of those people. I, for years, worked in corporate, and it was always about, whatever image I was told I needed to project in one, in a couple of different jobs I had. There's expectations that are placed upon us to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, to act a certain way. And I played the game. And but I believe there are ways to be able to do that, but still be yourself. In my case, I was I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say chastised. I wasn't chastised, but I was, like when in one case, I started reporting to somebody different. And the first thing he did before he even really got to know me was have me start working with somebody, I'm trying to remember what they called her at the time, but it was like, I didn't fit.
A groomer?
I guess I
Yeah.
didn't fit their image, you know.
Yeah.
And I ultimately I left that position. I actually retired from it. But it was because I did speak up. I'm one of those, I feel like if you don't want to know my opinion, then don't ask.
Mhm.
And but it was like in that particular case, in that environment, it was like, well, we want to know what you think, but only if it fits within our world, our realm, if you will. And that happens, I believe, a lot with women, not just in corporate. It happens a lot of different places. I used to refer to myself as a chameleon, that I just blended in, go with the flow, don't want to rock the boat, don't want to, have to explain yourself, don't want to make people upset. And there is some value to that on occasion, but I was doing it all the time to the point where I would say yes to things that I really didn't want to do or places I didn't want to go. And then when it came down to it at the last minute, it was either make an excuse, not feeling well, have a headache, whatever, or go and be miserable.
Mhm.
And that's really no way for anybody to have to live. And it's taken me really a long time to get to the point where now, if I don't want to do something, then I say no. And I don't have to provide an explanation.
Uh,
Even if somebody
Absolutely.
would want one, I don't have to.
I co-sign on that because no is a complete sentence. No.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to justify it. Now, you don't have to be rude or condescending either.
Exactly.
It's all in the delivery. And the delivery comes with a strategy because you have to set yourself back and you have to look, okay, am I being perceived? Because perception is important. We always want to show up as our authentic self, but sometimes that can be aggressive, it can be assertive because we're women. If you have been suppressed, if your voice has not been heard, and then all of a sudden you have that day that you've had the menopause hot flash. And you start coming up out of the ground, because you have all of this built up, suppressed feelings, emotions, anxiety, self loathing, or the overachiever syndrome. Now I've got to prove myself. Now I'm going to really show you who I am. I'm going to, it's a delicate dance. And so you need to work with conscious people like Sandy or me that get it, that help offset that. Because sometimes we, as women, we can come on too strong if we've been suppressed. So how do you tell that woman that is aggressive, you know? Let's not talk to the mealy mouse woman. Let's talk to the hard charger. She's got that thin that nice tight skirt and those red bottom shoes, and she's making six figures and she's walking in there, but at the end of the day she's got to face herself. What do you say to her, because she's struggling too?
She is. Every woman struggles in some manner or fashion. So for that woman, sometimes we try so hard to fit in with our environment wherever that is, and so it's finding that balance. So when I work with somebody, I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions and getting down deep into where they want to be, where they're at right now, where they want to be, and what's stopping them from getting there. And so it's asking a lot of questions. It's doing a lot of self-reflection. It's really liking that person that looks back at you in the mirror. I believe there's a lot of women, and I'm not saying it's every woman, but I believe there's a lot of women out there that avoid the mirror. I used to, never want to have pictures taken of myself. I didn't like the way I looked. Um, and it's a similar concept, because whether you're having a picture taken or you're looking in the mirror, you're still seeing the real you. And sometimes we don't want to face that.
So a mirror is more than just for reflection. It's also a place to make corrections, to sit in there
Absolutely.
and identify with who you really are. and be honest. If you can't be honest with anybody else on the planet, you better be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you weigh that? What is the value of that? Is it in dollars and cents? Is it in your career, your relationships, your physical body, your wardrobe, your handbag collection? Where do you value that, and where do you um, exude that? How do you share that? How do you pay it forward? To me, as a person, I was talking this. I was at in Hollywood yesterday working with some people, and I had taken some guests, that former guests that had been with me, and I really did the helicopter view and looked at the individuals that were in the audience, the individuals that were on stage, the people that were actually producing the show. And I'm saying, everybody had on all these different hats. And I could tell where there was a deep lack of sincerity. They became mechanical animals. They were just kind of going along to get along. Or they were trying so hard to impress other people that I was like, when you go home and you take all this off, where do you land? So that's my question to you, Sandy. When you become grounded, either you're on one side of the spectrum or the other, how do you greet this new person? Because that's a startling realization. It's like, I've been wearing this facade, I've been putting on this, this masquerade, and now all of a sudden, this is who I really am. It can be a stark reality.
It can, and it's one you have to be willing to take on and ready. And it's not going to be easy. There's going to be times where it's fearful. There's going to be, I mean, I've spent the last, since I retired twice actually. So the first time I was retired for 2 years, and then I went back into the corporate world, but I went into a completely different environment, into a casino world, which was a trip. And so,
Well, I know, yeah.
and even within that, there was different environments, because I first worked at just a regular casino, then I went to a tribal casino, so that had its own set of dynamics. But since I've left there, and it's been a year and a half since I retired the second time, and I have really spent a lot of time on me and figuring out what I like, figuring out who I am, which involves a lot of, quiet time in the morning, meditation, journaling, devotionals, all kinds of things. And it's really doing education. Some women are not ready to face that. So it's being willing to ask yourself those hard questions and being ready to embrace that person inside, whoever it is, um, and accept her for who she is. I think that's part of it. Is we 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 put on those masks, and we wear all those different hats because we feel like that's what we have to do to be accepted. When the reality is, you can do all of those things by being who you are and being genuine and being sincere. And if and so it there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, what is it that I really value? What is it that I really want? Because I will lay a bet that most people in that situation, that are in those high powered situations, that are in that, they're not being themselves. And I would say, if they really truly were honest with themselves, a lot of them probably are not happy.
Mhm.
But they're doing it, they don't know how to change that, they don't know how to make that pivot, make that switch, for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want to give up the money, they don't want to give up the lifestyle, or whatever. They feel they're afraid of what other people are going to say. That's probably the
No,
biggest thing,
that's what
is
gets
people are
me.
so afraid. Yeah.
I'm 61 now, and I don't give a hockey puck Too much. Well, let me qualify that. Too much about what people say, because sometimes what people say is what you exude. And you have to manage that as well. Everybody doesn't need to see the cards that are in your hand. Sometimes you are going to have to send your representative. But what is that person, you know, representing? What are they? Are they able to see the forest for the trees? Is there a deeper underlying message? What is the intention? You know, I have a very keen
Exactly.
sense of discernment. Girl, you should have seen me yesterday. My daughter was like, "Mommy, you got a different look on your face." I was, I hadn't been in Hollywood for a minute. I've been working a lot in San Diego, but it was really interesting to see some A-list celebrities that are not happy. You guys at home don't see when the cameras are off. The body language, the slumping, the constantly looking at the watch. They're just human beings like you and I. And then
Right.
when that camera's on, it's action. So that's the same type of things that we do in a different way. You're sending your representative. You got to be on. You got to be this. You got to be that. It's hard to just be yourself, Sandy. And I know that that's your field of expertise, but baby, that's work. That is work. And to be consistent at it and to be happy with it. It's not about the things, brains. It's not about the things. It's about looking at yourself. I went for a walk on the beach in Coronado the other day, and it was cold, and I had my big jacket on, and the waves were blowing, and people were out there. They were out playing volleyball. It was majestic. I was in my heaven. Life couldn't have been any better. I didn't care about how much money I had. I didn't care about the car. I didn't care about, the big belly that I was carrying with me walking down the beach. I was happy in that container. So, as a coach, you got your work cut out, because it's a lot of responsibility to help somebody carry that container. They want you to come in with the secret sauce. They want you to come in with the pixie dust and the magic, and you're going to fix me. But I tell you, if I tell you once, I tell you a million times, you got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to be accountable. You can work with Sandy for 15 years. I've got a girlfriend right now, bless her heart. She's been in therapy for 20 years. And I said, you went through this trauma for 15 and you still talking about it for 20. Where's the healing going to come? Do you want to really meet that person? And I think she's afraid of the person that's on the other side, because it's scary. But before we get into your book, I want to ask you some fun questions about you. I want to get to know you.
Okay.
Okay. My favorite
uh,
question.
Bring it.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be, Sandy?
Oh, I would be, hmm, I would be a blender.
Get a lot of blenders. Why you want to be a blender?
Because I feel like there's a lot you can do. You put all those ingredients in there and you blend it all up, and it all works out together to something magical and good.
Right? I want to be the air fryer.
I thought about that one.
Because it's slick, it's quick, you don't need a lot of grease, it's still crunchy, easy to clean. If you were a flower, what flower would you be?
I would be a lotus flower, because there's, what is the saying? You can't, I forget the saying, but it's about there's no lotus without the mud kind of thing. It's like the beauty comes up through all the muck and and I feel like, when you truly find you and truly get to that point, all that beauty comes out that you've been hiding and you've been pulling away from, and this beautiful flower comes out of it.
If you were a car, kind of car would you be?
I would be what I currently drive, which is a Jeep,
Mm.
because it can go up and over. I don't drive it like that, but it is multi-purpose and all terrain.
You
So
know, kicking in the overdrive and try to go up the mountain and sand dunes and all that in Arizona.
I haven't, well, we don't have any around where I live. I'm at elevation of 5,000. So
Okay.
that's why we had snow this morning, but the sun's out and it's starting to melt. But yes, I have not done it yet, but we could do that. But
I
we have
want to
other
be
toys for that too.
I want to be a 1970 VW uh, minivan.
Oh yeah.
All the flowers on the side and big windows, a mattress in the
Yep.
back, and yeah, I just want to take it back. If you could time
Cruising
travel,
along.
you could time
Mm.
travel. Where would you land? Past, present, future?
Oh goodness. I think past probably 50s. I've always been fascinated with that time frame. I just think it's fun. Life was a lot simpler then, um, with the way they dressed with the poodle skirts and all that. I just
I
think it
want to
was
be
fun
like in
then.
I want to be like in 3030,
Mm,
really futuristic, where there is no history, where you are creating a new reality, that you're being progressive.
yeah, I like that.
Sandy, what's your superpower?
Hmm. I would say it is um, my empathy and listening.
Mm. What do you want your
I feel
legacy?
it, that I made a difference in this world, that I left it better than it was when I got here.
Because you're a blender, you're mixing it up.
Right.
You're taking all of these wonderful qualities, your expertise, your experience, the work that you've done on yourself, and you have created a program. Tell us a little bit about the program and the workbook that's associated with it.
Sure. So the program actually I tailor to whoever I'm working with, whatever it is that they need. But it starts with I created a self-assessment wheel, which has 8 different areas of self-worth, self-esteem, self-love, self-confidence, self-compassion, self-knowledge, self-talk, all of those things. Because I believe when you work on the different aspects of self, your self-confidence is a natural byproduct. So we start with that and we identify, well, where are those, I don't like the word weaker, but for lack of a better description, the less strong areas that a woman may want to work on, and we then tailor our program to that. But through all of that is how I ended up writing my book, Unconditionally You, Your Sassy Guide to Self-Love. um, all of those areas of self are interwoven. They all intermix, and there's aspects, of all of them all over. But self-love, loving yourself. If you don't love yourself first, it's kind of like when you're on a plane and they do their little safety spiel and they say, if the oxygen mask falls, put yours on first before you help others. Self-love is the same. It's, we talked about at the beginning, and brains, let me tell you, we are nurturers. April talked about that. We're natural nurturers, and it's just what we do. It's how we're raised. And we always want to take care of everybody else. And we get to that point where we feel like it's selfish to take care of ourselves. But the reality is, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not loving yourself, then you're going to have a much more difficult time doing that for those around you that need you, especially when it's crucial and a critical time. You've heard the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that's cliche, but
No, it's
you have to fill your cup up in order to be who you need to be for others.
Absolutely. But
So
we were
that's
talking
really
about that.
kind of the premise.
Well, we were talking about that yesterday. The cup.
Mm-hmm.
If your cup is full and it's runneth over, you have an obligation and a responsibility to give that overflow to others. You know, okay,
Absolutely.
is it half empty? Is it half full? Either way. But what happens if it's overflowing? So you have overflowed into the pages of a complimentary workbook that goes along with your program. Share with us a little bit about that and what's inside the pages of that.
Well, it's the what I really wanted to do when I wrote this was I wanted to, it's not the type of book that you have to start from the beginning and read till the end to get anything out of it. You could, there's 5 chapters. I mean, it's a small book, 5 chapters. You could start at chapter 5 if you wanted. You don't have to, you can start anywhere you want in the book. And each, they're written to kind of stand alone, even though they complement each other. So the book, and it's available digitally or in paperback, but then there's also a downloadable workbook that you can, there's a QR code in the book. So you can download the workbook if you want, or just use a journal, because throughout the book, the way I've created it is that I talk about different areas, but then I give you action steps and things to ponder and things to consider. And so by doing that in a journal or in the workbook, either way, it helps solidify the points that I make, in the book.
Okay. So let's see if we can pick up what you're putting down.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about chapter 2, for example, is called Love Affair with Yourself, Flirting with the Beauty in the Mirror. And so, and I'll just read a little bit. So the intro that I wrote, I said, I used to be so critical of myself, mostly my appearance. I'd have friends tell me I'm beautiful and that I have a nice smile, and I would discount their words, and I didn't believe them. As I talk about in the introduction of the first book, or the first chapter rather, I had no self-esteem after my then husband told me he was not attracted to me due to my weight. He actually did that twice in our marriage. And so in this particular chapter, I share some of the things that helped me overcome the mindset that I needed to be a certain size or look a certain way, and helped me believe that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And I go on to talk about self-esteem is often considered the same as confidence, competence, and worth. And while they are related, it's important to recognize self-esteem all on its own. Your self-esteem is how you appraise your worth and how you think, feel, and act based on your assessment, not other people's. Building a healthy sense of self-esteem is a helpful practice of self-love. Fostering your self-esteem helps you better understand yourself and develop a healthier sense of identity. And then I have an action step in the book where you go through and you identify different qualities. And just to make it fun, you label them. You have slay in it, those that you I think are positive for yourself, nay in it for those that identify as negatives, and then the just meh for those that are more neutral. And so you're coming up with those lists. I believe personally it's important to do that. Too often, we as women have a tendency to do what I did. You discount, oh, no, you instead of just
Okay.
saying thank you.
And that was what I was going to say. You got to be gracious. Gratitude is latitude, and it will change your attitude. But people's, oh, because I will tell folks in a heartbeat, I love me. I blow myself kisses. Uh, I take myself out to a nice lunch. I don't wait for the outside influence. I don't wait for the outside echo chamber, because people are good. Well, there's two sides to that. People say if you don't have haters, you're not doing enough. But that person that's hating can't be the person that you're carrying around all the time. And I was shocked when you said that you didn't think we don't want to be conceited. Where did that come from? That you didn't think that you were pretty, or, you know, did you have challenges growing up? Were you bullied? Were you not not substantiated and validated by parents or siblings or grandma? You know, how did you get that negativity embedded in you from the onset?
I think it's a combination. Growing up, I grew up as a latchkey kid.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents worked. We were, middle class. I don't, I don't remember my dad ever telling me I love you until I was an adult. It was actually after he and my mom had divorced, which I was a freshman in college when that happened. And that was the first time I really remember my dad telling me I love you. He told me all the time after that, but I don't remember it. I mean, he was always very playful, and I knew that he did. And then my mom was always very critical, whether it was hair or whatever. And I always struggled with weight. And so when my first husband told me twice in our marriage that he was no longer attracted to me because I had gained weight, I mean, my self-esteem just tanked. And so that's just, it's constant, that those tapes are constantly playing. I mean, I was never a, tiny petite child, you know. Um, and so, and we, I mean, I go home. I love sweets, and my brother and I were by ourselves after school, and so we'd eat whatever we wanted, and there was nobody there to, I didn't grow up like working out or, anything like
Right,
that. So
right.
ultimately, as I experienced all those different things, and I was painfully shy as a child. And actually, up until I'm still consider myself somewhat shy, although I have no problem. I can get up on a stage and talk and greet and talk and teach. Um, but you put me in a social situation in a party, and I'm the one in the corner, just sitting back there watching everything, waiting to see what happens. I'm not. I'm my
That's why I said you
outgoing.
know how to send out your representative. You
Hmm.
know,
Exactly,
but and
and I had to learn how to do that.
but brains, this, and we bring this up is because it starts from somewhere. I mean, we don't just wake up one day and say, no, these feelings are embedded in you. And grew up with a stepfather, and I absolutely adore that man. But he wasn't, and I, you know, he wasn't one to, which was cool with me, come sit on my lap and all that. No, it was like, hold my hand. He was, very matter of factly. There was law and order there. There was no whole bunch of, young men coming in and out and all that. You were a lady. You carried yourself a certain way. He was awesome, but he was very stern. And when I look back, I look at his relationship with his mother. I don't know what it was. My mother was just the bee's knees, honey. Nobody could hold a candle to her. She was loving, she was nurturing, she was cool, she was a conversationalist, she was a smart woman, but she had a seventh grade education. She had a baby at 14, So she didn't want those things in me. And she was able to change that epigenetic. She cut it off. Where my stepfather too was able to just craft it in a different kind of way, because he's very secretive. So I don't know what the backstory. I'm sure that there's a backstory to his upbringing, but the balance, the yin and the yang, worked for me. Where raising my daughter is, I couldn't tell her that she was important, that she was validated, that she was substantiated, that she was. I couldn't tell her that enough. And it worked because there was a sense of balance, with her. She took it on. She didn't concede it. She's very kind and giving, but she does have strong sense of boundaries. So I share all of this with you, brains, is that, again, that comes with meeting who you are, working with someone like Sandy, if you're confused, if you need validation, if you need more tools to get that clarity, to color in the white space, because we all have it. And what we also have to understand is that it's not over till it's over. Me and Sandy are women of a particular age. And yes, we do look good. It's not just the moisturizer, it's the fact that we've done the work, that we've showed up. And it's an ever evolving process. Meditation, yoga, exercise, conversation, forgiveness, financial literacy, you know, getting in a Jeep and going out in the field, seeing if you can find some locust flowers, um, maybe coming home and making a smoothie in that blender. All those things make a difference in your life. Sandy, I want to thank you so much for being open and honest and vulnerable, for dedicating all the work that you've done in human resources. That's where she retired from, Brains. She is a human resource. And we're not talking about the one that just hires you or fires you. We're talking about a reservoir of dreams, opportunities, um, suggestions, coaching, teaching. So all of that is what she provides and a lot of experience. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you so that they can love on you and they can learn to love on themselves.
Awesome. The probably best way would be to go to my website, which is www.Sandy, Sandy Bartlett, Bartlett.com, and all of my emails on there, how to schedule with me, my programs, my books, everything is all on that website. And that's probably the best way to reach me.
Brains, we're going to put all of her information at the back of the interview. Leave a comment, like, love, and share. Those comments are valuable because that's how we grow and evolve and we sharpen our knife so that we can give you what you need. We're not just doing this because we're cute. We're doing it because we can. But we don't know what we don't know. There might be other elements. There might be a chapter 6, 7, 8 that Sandy can add. There might be things that she can add to her program. There might be guests that you want me to bring on the show to support that, to validate that. So do your due diligence. Go in, love, like, share, and subscribe. Send Sandy an email. Maybe she'll do a consultation with you, so that you can check out and see it is what you need. But we all need something. None of us are perfect. I know. You look at me and Sandy and you think we're perfect, but we're not. We're doing the very best we can. And you know what? You might be able to help us too. So love, like, share, leave a comment. We are on every social media outlet on the planet. Thank you so much, Sandy. I value you. I appreciate you. And, maybe we can get together and ride in that Jeep.
I'd love that. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, brains. Take care of yourself. I care about you.